Amazing. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Adam here.
Hello.
All right, where's the other guitar player? That's what I want to know.
That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
What's that piece called?
It's called Blues For Bert. I wrote it for my grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Mr. Adam Miller joining us today.
Thank you.
Welcome, Adam.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my honour to be here. I've watched it from the other side of the camera via the satellites, via my phone in bed. It's incredible to be here talking to you guys.
Welcome, mate.
It's a pleasure to welcome you. For those of you who don't know, Adam Miller is an Australian guitar player, artist.
Here's the other one.
Yeah, the other one. We're going to do a little bit of biographical stuff today, just by way of sort of knitting the conversation together. But if you want a deep biography on Adam, read his website, read some other stuff, older interviews. Focus of today is going to be talking about some recent releases, influences in sound and style. As you can see, there's a
travel board.
Yeah.
Of compact.
I was going to say modest, but it's not that modest pedal board. To get into some looping and stuff.
Yeah.
New guitar, whole load of stuff. Maybe we should start, Adam. You could tell us what you're doing here. Why are you here?
I'm on tour I've been in the US for a couple of weeks. I went to Germany to the Guitar Summit in Mannheim to pick up this guitar. In the UK, doing a couple of pressy sort of things, and then back to Germany to do 2 more shows, and then the very long flight home to Australia. Yeah,
it's a killer.
Yeah.
Just briefly,
Yeah.
You've picked this up in Mannheim.
Yeah.
From the wonderful Mr. Nik Huber. Hello,
Yes.
Nick.
Hello, Nick.
Hope you're awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
Sounds glorious. Tell us about this a bit, because this is your second signature.
Yeah, I guess so. The first signature model was just I ordered a guitar and got it, and then people started ordering it.
Right.
So
okay.
it wasn't intentionally meant to be a signature model. It's just people I want
thing.
Adam's
Okay.
guitar. So it kind of developed a little bit from there. This guitar was the realization from discussions, making things a little bit smaller. The Rietbergen is like, I always consider it
It's massive.
well, it's massive, but I consider it a 335 size telly. That's the way I explain it to people, shape-wise and even like measurements-wise.
Right.
It's longer scale and that sort of thing. So this one, I wanted something a little bit smaller that was easier to travel with, could have a smaller case, and then sort of integrate a few elements of my few favorite guitars. So obviously the Nik Huber I play a lot, but I also play a thin line telly that I built from parts years ago, which has a solid rosewood neck and a few funky things, and has like a Firebird pickup in the neck. So
that's on the cover of a record called Gallery that came out last year, and we'll talk about that in a minute if you want to look at it.
Yeah, and then sort of my love of archtop guitars as well, and I have a couple of Collings sort of archtop-ish guitars. So the idea was to get all those combined into sort of one crazy little guitar. And so this guitar is really hollow, like it's got a block from just the bridge here back to the neck.
Oh,
then it's all
It goes
hollow.
Yeah, right. Lovely.
Like a big giant U-shaped
And
swimming
it does
pool.
have that sound.
Yeah. Acoustically, it's like,
Yeah.
it's loud. So it's a redwood top on this one. It's a mahogany back, which was just because my last one was that. I considered doing an ash or alder, but making a little bit more Fendery, but I just wanted to go with kind of what I knew from Nick already. And then, bolt-on maple neck, rosewood board, and the Klopman mini humbuckers.
I've only just clocked that that's a bolt-on.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of,
That's awesome.
I got super interested in what bolt-on does to the sound of a guitar and construction. So, and I kind of like that it's a little bit more, I don't know. I like
great.
the bolt-on neck thing is cool.
And of course, nobody's going to do a bolt-on neck like that apart from Nik Huber.
Yeah.
No, well, that's the thing. Yeah, those 5 bolts with this insane thing. Like that neck, this is not the kind of bolt-on neck that you're pulling in and out for flights.
No.
Either. So, but it's
sounds amazing, mate.
Yeah, I'm having a ball with it. This is, as said earlier, like this is the first time I've got to play it through an amp. Really, so
you literally just picked it up a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it was, what day is it? Monday?
Yeah.
And it was like Thursday last week, and barely really played it. So great.
Interestingly,
Oh, okay.
no tone control because
Tone is in the
there
hands.
you go. But that's really cool. So you're getting all of your tonal variation from the volume control and from these things.
Yeah, like I think, and we'll get into this, I played like acoustic guitar for so long, almost exclusively, especially for my own music. And, you know, there were a few reasons for that. But one of the reasons was whenever I played electric guitar, I was just trying to sound like someone else.
Oh,
I was always just going, oh, I'm going to try to sound like Chris Chaney from The Living End today, or I'm going to try to sound like Robin Ford. And I couldn't get that out of my head. It became my overwhelming focus. But when I played acoustic guitar, I just played. And so when I went back to kind of doing more electric guitar stuff again, actually was that thin line that I built it with no tone control. I just wanted a volume control because I just was like, I'm going to just try and get everything out of my hands again rather than trying to, do it with, small manipulations everywhere. Try to forget about it.
Beautiful. I love that.
And the foundation of that tone from getting everything from here, we just heard you lovely clean sound. How gainy do you get? How gainy do you go?
Well, I will use a fuzz sometimes. I will use ridiculous things, but not more as a soundscape. But my usual gain sort of sound, and I've just done the thing we discussed, not doing the playing while talking, is like usually the free the tone I use quite a lot because it has just this really dynamic way of being able to where it goes into breakup.
Right.
And because I actually play quiet most of the time. I'm not a guy that turns up. And recording, I play even quieter because my last, the album Beyond Reason that I released last year, the guitars were recorded in our apartment. Like through a 2-rock, mic'd up, but no attenuator. So I just turn it down, and that kind of just gives it that sort of feel of, I don't know, maybe an amp turned up, but I really like what it does.
Can we hear it briefly?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Switch her on. You're
one?
closer, yeah. So this, here we go. Now, the thing is with that, with the control of it as well, if I'm playing, even when I'm playing solo or sort of 2 parts at a time, do you want to hear it off?
No. I was just, I'm my ear is going, I can hear hum.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Because these are gained up like about 50 dB.
Of course, yeah. It's still very touch responsive when if I'm playing 2 parts at a time, I can almost get the bass clean and the top part overdriven. So you get this.
That's mad.
That's it. I'm buying a 2-rock. I'm getting that, and I'm going to take a router to my Nik Huber, route the back out.
That's
and,
mad.
Isn't that amazing?
That's it. Because the nature of the overdrive is, it sounds like an old amp breaking up.
Yeah.
It's very traditional and
It's a very natural, it's funny because I actually don't know what it's based on. I'm a full nerd. I'm like, okay, what is the circuit? What is the chip? What are the diodes? Yeah. I actually don't know anything about that pedal.
Oh, wow. And
I literally bought it because I heard Matt playing through it on the show here years ago. So I was like, and because Matt and I are friends, we've played a lot together as well.
that's Matt Schofield if you're not following.
Yeah. And because I understand kind of how he touches the guitar, and I was like, I think that pedal could do it. So I just ordered it online from a store, and
no way.
Yeah, and it's been on the board ever since. Yeah.
That's
it's really fun for that.
really cool.
Yeah.
And seeing as we're talking about overdrive, let's get that out of the way. And the Vemuram.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know if it's called Buddy G or Budi G. I can't remember how to pronounce that. I know that the company is pronounced Vemuram,
Yeah.
but I don't know what that is.
I looked at it, and just because you're Australian, I assumed it said Bondi G.
Bondi G.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is now.
Yeah.
The signature overdrive pedal,
Yeah,
the Bondi
Bondi
G.
Yeah.
And
Hey, mate.
yeah.
Bondi.
And so it's a very, just a super versatile little gainy boost machine. Like, they say it's a gritty boost. I find it very overdriven personally for how much I use,
Right, yeah.
but it's kind of a little bit dirtier and nastier. So it can drive the free the tone if I want to run both, or you might as well switch it on first. And so how is it set up now? And it's kind of cool. I use this often in a situation where the amp, I don't know, if I'm just having trouble at a gig where the amp isn't quite working and I still want it to be, I know it sounds gainier, but it has less of a tonal impact. So if I'm sort of wanting it to be clean, it sort of just puts it that little bit over the edge. But it doesn't roll out the top end either.
Yeah, okay.
So it's been really good just as a tool, and in manipulating the gain knob on it and the boost and the bass and treble, it has a lot of range to make backline amps and things speak a little bit closer to what I need them to do. So sometimes that will be if I've got a bad amp, an always on sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
Just to make it work. And then, one of the cool things next, I've had it because I used to use the Genray quite a bit as well. The pedals, most of Vemuram pedals, I find the most powerful control for me is actually the little screwdriver on the top.
Yeah.
So you'll see there's a little screwdriver velcroed to the board next to it, so I can access that when I need it.
I've got one here somewhere for the Landau overdrive.
Yeah. So I kind of carry that on there as a little, in case on this pedal it is a saturation trimmer. So I've got it run at the minimum gain at the moment, but you can actually turn the gain up, I don't know, 10 more, let's say, if it's on 0 now.
Wicked.
Yeah.
I like that approach to overdrive where you might assume that if you're playing cleaner styles, that great crossover of jazz blues that you were just playing, everyone assumes, well, not everyone.
Blues jazz.
But yeah, sorry. People assume that it is ultra clean and almost linear and like this sort of perfect no distortion thing.
Yeah.
But actually just a bit creeping in is really what gives it life. I love that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Just that little bit of texture to it is where you get, that vocal quality.
Yeah.
Within
Within the dynamic, it sort of
Yeah.
really reacts.
And
to
that's
your
the hard
hand.
thing to find, I think, in most pedals, and it is that dynamic range of it and how it reacts when you push it and what that push goes into as far as the envelope of breakup. If we're getting super nerdy,
Yeah. Well, can I get even a bit more nerdy?
yeah,
You're playing some stuff there, and the melody notes sort of pop out, and you can you're happy to leave a note on, sustain it while you're playing behind it. How much did acoustic playing inform your electric playing?
I honestly consider them almost the same thing.
Okay.
I don't really approach the two guitars any differently, if that makes sense. I guess the dynamic range and the touch and the feel of playing an acoustic well really translates to how I play an electric. I play it that same way. I'm thinking about how does the note actually pop out of the guitar acoustically so that when it is through the amp, that it is a continuation of whatever the acoustic quality of the guitar is.
Right.
So I'm, very particular in that way.
I think I can hear the quality of the two rock in that as well, where it's so dynamic, but that that headroom thing and where it just sits tonally with that crossover between acoustic and electric, I think, because I'm listening to your album, Gallery, and I first listened to it going, it's like electric or acoustic. Oh, okay, no, it's electric, but there's this massive. It had the range of an acoustic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So like I've been a two-rock player since 2007.
Wow.
I got into them very early because going back to what I was saying before, I was a massive Robin Ford fan. I'm like, what pedal does Robin Ford use? Oh, he uses a Dumble. Oh, okay, they're $10,000, which they were when I started looking at them online. But yeah, the way I describe a two-rock for me is that it's almost the two-rock and the speaker is the soundboard of an acoustic guitar. That it translates that same way, that push and the way you can drive an acoustic guitar top, you can do it with the clean sound in a two-rock.
Amazing.
Even if it is run clean like I am now, you can still get it to sort of break in certain points, but then it has the dynamic range to do those things playing separate parts.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is kind of mixing as well, where you've got like, I became very aware of how my two parts sit as far as a mix.
Right.
So I'm trying to be a sound engineer whilst I'm playing. So if you want to turn off that pedal just for a second, so that the bass notes sit really low to the melody. So it sits over the top. So you get that feeling of like... And that, yeah.
So cool. It's so good.
I was just watching your thumb there. Obviously, you're damping with the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
But the flesh of the thumb and not pulling at it too hard is simulating a string bass, right?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And, you know, that all comes from Charlie Hunter and actually playing the string bass on that instrument as well. But, yeah, it's sort of, like I want it to sound like a upright bass player or a great P bass player. That is the goal. It's, you know, it's why I don't use a thumb pick, which is a lot of the acoustic thing as well. Because you know, when I started playing a lot of acoustic live when I was younger, you know, it was you use a thumb pick, and then after a while, I was like, I don't want the bass to be bright. I want it to be like a Hammond organ or a P bass. So, kind of learning to do that and being aware of note length. The muting helps, because that's, you know, where all the groove comes from is actually your note lengths more than almost what you're playing. And
also enables the melody to sing out between the syncopation of the bass.
Yeah, it's almost like if you examine it, it's really only one part happening at a time. It's just they're displaced well, so it sounds like there's two parts.
Talking of thumb picks, any segue into Sir Tommy Emmanuel?
Yeah.
I met him very briefly this is a really weird story, right? My sister was asked to put together a little vocal choir for Michael Bolton when he was like touring in Australia.
Great.
And Tommy and Darlene got me and my little sister to be in there as well.
In the choir.
So we were in the BV choir for Michael Bolton at the Sydney Entertainment Centre.
Wow!
But
so have you told this story publicly before?
No, I don't think I have. But Tommy was supporting, and my sister knows Tommy quite well, and I was a big fan. Similar to you, I loved his telework, and I loved hearing him play with Dragon.
Yeah.
But I got to meet him at the gig. Oh man, he was so great. And you opened for Tommy. You know Tommy quite well. You've interviewed him a number of times as well.
Yeah. So really the first thing I did that was probably big was I got to open for Tommy when I was about 19 years old, which would be the equivalent in YouTube age of 8 years old.
Guitar playing ability. You mean?
Yeah. You know, these days, but yeah, and he came through Newcastle, Australia, where I'm from, and I just emailed his manager. It was actually like one of the first emails I'd ever sent. I found his management's email and said, "Hey, I see he's coming. Could I open for him?" And Tommy was like my childhood idol. He is a pop star in Australia, or was in the 90s.
Yeah,
it might have
definitely.
faded a little now, but it's not guitar players that know him, it's everyone.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain that impact that he
really.
had. So like if you play guitar, people are like, oh, like Tommy Emmanuel?
Exactly.
It's like,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Man.
It's kind of crazy how it was. And
He had, and one of his acoustic tunes, when he got into the whole thing, was a big hit in Australia.
Initiation.
The Initiation.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
amazing.
And that's the reason I first bought a delay pedal.
there you go.
Because that
right.
piece uses a delay
Yeah.
very specifically. So I managed to do this gig. So you meet your hero and have to play in front of him on the same day. Was pretty terrifying. Fortunately, I managed to do a few things with him over the next few years, and that really started, I guess, me moving out of like my teenage bands into sort of being me, I guess.
Nice.
But yeah, that was because he was playing acoustic then. I was doing all that on solo acoustic guitar as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so we go from that. So your earlier album covers is you on the cover with an acoustic guitar.
Correct.
And
Correct.
more recently, we see more electric guitars.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for that, or is that just telling a story that's not entirely true?
There is a little reason for it, and there are two things. It was that the acoustic thing was driven out of that was what I was getting asked to do, I guess. Like it was just like that was a way for me to perform. It was a way for me to not have a band. I could just go and do things, and it sort of just had some momentum behind it. But one, I kind of realized I just didn't really listen to solo acoustic music, and it wasn't what I wanted to listen to, and I wanted to make music that I was listening to. But one of the big things with it, strangely enough, was I was, always touring, predominantly only taking an acoustic guitar on the road. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up doing a clinic tour for Two Rock and a few other companies that were all involved at the same time through Europe and the UK.
So Premier Builders Guild.
Builders Guild, yeah.
Yeah.
That was maybe 12 years ago now or something. And it was the first tour where I didn't take an acoustic guitar. Like I just had an electric guitar. And the sound every night was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh,
Whereas playing acoustic guitar live, especially solo by yourself, not being able to take extensive amounts of, or certainly not any amplification on the road, it's just really hard to translate to a sound guy that the acoustic guitar needs to be the full frequency range and uncompressed and turned up almost uncomfortably loud for it to work, rather
because
than
you're going to control.
Yeah. And I want that dynamic range because I will play really soft sometimes, and then sometimes I will play really loud. But so often I would find they would, high pass the bass frequencies at 200 hertz and then add a ton of treble and then compress it. And I've got like microphones in my guitar and all sorts of things. And you just couldn't argue with them to a point. Whereas with an electric guitar, I did it one night where it was so bad, I was like, I can't play right now. This is impossible. I plugged my electric guitar into a separate DI with no amp simulator, nothing. And they turned it up and it was all there. It was like, they didn't do that with the electric. It was like, it actually just sounded, and so it became, easy to even do solo shows on the electric guitar after a while. Even if I had the worst amp you've ever seen in the world, it tended to always sound better than the bad sound guy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
unbelievable.
that kind of led me to, back to playing electric guitar, quite a bit.
But you said there's some more acoustic stuff coming up. We had that conversation earlier.
Yeah. I still love it.
Yeah.
And I probably still play acoustic guitar more at home. But yeah, I'm keen to do it again. We'll just see if I can convince sound guys to work it out if I play live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used. I think you told me that Tommy travels with.
Well, one of the things I learned, I did 2 interviews with him last year for different guitar magazines, and he has 2 full-time employees, and it's a sound guy and a lighting guy. Yeah. And it's really, it's, for those reasons,
Yeah.
You need to
controlling the
look
show.
good and you need to sound good. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Can we talk about improvisation for a minute then?
For sure.
So, Gallery,
Yes.
released from last year, mentioned the front cover earlier. If you look at the front cover, I'm right in saying that is the rig.
That is a fluke that I just took that photo on my phone at the gig.
No way.
So that I was in this little white corner in an art gallery, and that's the rig, yeah.
And you recorded it there and then.
Done.
It's live.
It's live. It was recorded to a portable Tascam recorder that it's got like the 2 mics on it and then 2 mic inputs. So I don't even know why I thought about this in advance. It wasn't, but I took a little SE ribbon mic, so that's in front of the amp, and there's a little bit of the other mics for room ambience. And
Amazing.
and I basically went into this gig where it sort of relates to the Beyond Reason album that I released a little bit earlier, is I was halfway through doing that and hated everything I played. I was like, I don't want to hear one of my songs ever again. I don't want to do anything. I'm going to go in and be inspired by the art in here. That was my thinking. I put on really nice clothes. I think I was wearing a suede kimono, and I just went full art mode. And
Where does one get a suede kimono? Because I want to buy
I'm into
one
it.
now.
Yeah, it's a great jacket actually. It's one of my favorites. But went in and I did it, and it was so casual, this gig, that I knew everyone sort of there, and they were talking to me while I was playing. There was just all this stuff going on. But I did improvise the whole gig. I didn't have any preconceived ideas really. I just played a 2-hour gig and recorded it, and I forgot about it. And
So
then,
solo electric guitar for 2 hours.
yeah.
Wow.
It speaks.
Insanity.
Yeah, I think that's one word for it. But also the depth of your imagination and your ability to do looping and all of that stuff. I appreciate we can only ever scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But could we scratch the surface, please?
Of course,
I
yeah.
think we're both blimmin' fascinated by how that process even comes together.
Sure.
Yeah. Where do you start?
I think it was just all the basic ideas and trying to be not intrusive in that thing. I was trying to create a soundscape but not be over the top, and also just give myself room to breathe.
That moment wasn't about you. It was about creating a sound that worked with the art and the space.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it really was a very arty thing.
I love
And
that.
so I wasn't there were some people that would come to see me play at this, but it definitely wasn't the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was it, by the way? Sorry, should have asked that.
Where was it?
Yeah.
An art gallery in Newcastle,
Right.
where I live, called, is it Later? I think it's pronounced. Anyway, tiny. It's not much bigger than this studio.
That's Newcastle, Australia, by the way, not
Yes.
Newcastle-Upon Tyne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Newcastle-Upon the Pacific is what someone said to me the other day. So it was just this, that's the thing, with the recording, you can hear people talking to me.
I love that.
And I took it out for a second because I could just use the guitar amp mic, but I loved the idea of hearing it. And if you are in headphones and want to get super nerdy, you can hear me actually explaining to people what pedals are doing. They're like, how do you do that? And I'm actually explaining as I go, and that's how some of it did happen.
Come on then, you've teed us up nicely.
Okay, cool.
Explain how some of it happened.
Okay, cool. So should I just attempt to play one of the songs? So here's this crazy thing. I released this album. People really dug it. I had to go back and work out maybe what I did. Because I did the gig, well, it might be over 2 years ago now.
Okay.
And I'd never played anything before, so it was a little...
But I think there's something incredibly interesting in that if somebody does a painting, an expressionist or an impressionist painting, what you don't say to the artist is, oh, could you just do another one of those?
Yeah.
And that's the nature of music, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It is, yeah.
you're there creating this thing that is in a time and a place and it exists there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, amazing that you recorded it because it exists for posterity.
Yeah.
But yeah, recreate it. I don't know. Is that in the spirit of it or not?
Yeah, well, I think the reality is that because I was sort of composing melodies in the moment, and so, you know, in learning it again, I've kind of refined those melodies. So they are a melody and I do remember it for the most part. Cool. But it's hard to tell. Yeah.
Let's have a listen then.
Okay.
We'll
let's do...
pick it apart.
Yeah, so this one I have been playing a bit. It might fail because I don't... I don't know how I loop that well on that recording, but I did. So I must have been really relaxed. I'm like myself right now. So today I'm going to use the DL4 to do this first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But on the recording you were using...
I was using a Strymon timeline with a MIDI controller.
Yeah, nice.
And so it's by disaster area. It hangs off the end and it accesses reverse and halftime for the looper. And it actually also has an expression knob I can control with my foot for the looper volume.
Nice. Okay.
Which is really cool. Why I don't have that here is because it's 2 pedals and another NX, and it's just a little hard to travel with in my gig backpack. I don't have road cases or anything. I have like a tiny backpack that fits in my suitcase so I can anyway. Traveling. It's awesome.
Come on, let's see if we can set something up.
All right, cool. So this is Light and Shadows. So I'm going to stand up for a second. And I've realised I have to use my left foot for looping. That's the one that stays in time better.
Oh, man.
So this is...
Maybe that's my problem. I've
that's
been using the wrong foot.
No, I did this recently and I did it with my right foot. And I was like, oh, my right foot doesn't keep time, but my left foot is obviously the one that's always doing this. Okay, so I've got to get this at a good tempo. So here we start with this.
So this is continually looping. Just waiting for the place. Okay.
Yeah. Then we'll add a texture. And then to finish this song was like,
It's just so analog. Cool, man.
So that's loop version 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's that is a relatively traditional approach.
Exactly.
Looping.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So that's one method I use to kind of do it. Another way, which I did do on the album, I actually can't remember what this song's called. And I'm not sure if I even put it in the recording. I might have edited out the start of this looping thing. So, and this was to create kind of a long reverse texture to go behind the loop. And I do remember I did this on the timeline. I tend to use the mood more for this in a gigging situation, but this is kind of one of those things. So, oh, there it is, still there. I forgot it doesn't erase it. Okay, so next, so for this one, I basically play a bass line, but then I put it in reverse and then play harmonics over the top to create a texture. Then I go half time, and so that puts it down the octave to play some other little textural stuff that then when it goes back to full speed and normal time, I get these things floating over the top.
So just to
We're
clarify
in
that,
territory, aren't we?
just to clarify that, you are, by recording something, so you've got the normal speed, you've got half time, and you've got double time, or do you have simply double time and normal speed? Like,
I think it's on most of the loopers, it's normal speed and half speed.
And half speed, okay.
Yeah.
So, because if you record at half speed, then you go to normal time, it goes an octave higher, like we heard there.
Yeah.
And twice as fast.
Doubles.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you record at normal speed and then go half speed,
Yeah.
you get an octave lower and it stretches out twice as long.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can do that and then reverse the recording, is that right?
Yep, you can reverse
Okay.
them and you can play them forwards and you can change what you're doing as you go.
So you can record in reverse
Yep.
and then play it back.
Forward.
Okay. All right.
Actually, the DL4 doesn't do that, but with the timeline, you can actually set it up that whatever you just played does go reverse straight away.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is how I set up the mood. But
Right.
we'll go this
get there
guy
in a minute.
first. Yeah. Okay, so this one, can't remember what it's called. I know it's track 2 on the album. I had to come up with names for all these songs, so they were all like art gallery names. Maybe this is called, I think it's called Art. I don't know.
Yeah, there is
Okay.
a track called that.
I think this
confirm.
might be that. Okay. Sorry, preparation. Good work, Adam. Okay, so this. So now what I'm going to do, tap into reverse. So then I've got my bass to play over. And then, that's just the looper volume. In this song, then I think I do put harmonies later, and then also with this to get fuzz tone. Little juggle there, so it's like. And so on. And that was a bad example because, and then this is the danger of these sorts of loopers. There is an undo.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's no
okay.
going back.
Right, okay.
If it's
Once
there,
it's in.
you're screwed. Yeah. So it's total commitment. And that's what I like about like this and the timeline. It's like, there's no going back. There might be a way to undo on this, but the new one, but I hope there's not.
So on other loopers, you can undo the last step, for example?
Yeah. And fix your mistakes. And, there's ones that you can quantize so that you're playing in time.
Really?
Yeah, it
The
extracts.
Boss one does that.
The Boss one, I believe
Okay.
the Sheeran one does that because you don't want to screw up at stadiums. So,
Living on the edge.
yeah, but this one's, it's more fun because you just don't know exactly what's going to happen.
There's one other sort of looping I wanted to ask you about. I'm not sure if it's gallery. You played a phrase. It was almost like a texture,
Yeah.
but then you would reharmonize the chords around it. And you would change. It was like quite a simple textured note or a sequence of notes, but then you would change the bass notes and then you would infer all these other chords around it. It was really amazing.
Around the top, yeah. There's a few ways to kind of do that, I guess, and this would be actually the way I would normally sort of do that sort of thing.
Right.
So for looping is to create a bed to play over. So the idea is that it's, usually with harmonics, depending on the key, or quite high on the guitar. So you've got this movement and swelling in the background, but it allows you to kind of play through everything. So
As opposed to just playing chords that you play along to.
yes,
You can tighten that up and play something that allows you to be more flexible with what that
everything
ends
you
up-
play. Of
Right,
course, yeah.
Okay.
And so this is very much the Bill Frisell thing. And, that's,
Okay.
where I first heard it. I heard him play Somewhere Over the Rainbow in a movie soundtrack. And I was like, the movie's Finding Forrester. And I was like, I've heard that song a million times. I've never heard it like this. And I didn't know who Bill Frisell was, actually. I just waited for the titles to finish. Well, I knew his name from like Fender Frontline catalogs,
Right.
but that's about it. Yeah. Kind of like how I know Johnny Marr from Johnny Marr signature model.
Signature model.
No.
Slight side note that the Fender Frontline was like Bible, wasn't it? It was, you had it and it just used to pour over it,
Do you know what?
page by page.
I got a letter printed in it
Did you?
when I was 10 years old. Or I was like, I wrote them asking if Fender made a 3/4 size Telecaster because the big one doesn't fit on me so well. And John Page answered me, and I now know John Page, and so it's hilarious.
Man.
Their answer was, yes, the Fender Custom Shop can make you one.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks.
10-year-old from Newcastle, Australia.
Yeah.
And it's only $7,000.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, 1990.
Oh, okay. It was $70.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was completely
I know,
interrupted
we've
you.
just gone on tangents. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Welcome to the Pedal Show.
So, yes. So that requires... The idea is that you play a series of notes, then you reverse it.
Okay.
So that it creates that sort of thing. So I can do that once again with the DL4. The way the pedal I usually use this with now is actually the Mood,
do a mood.
because it's quicker to do it and it requires me doing less tap dancing.
I'm desperate to hear you play the mood because there's
Yeah.
parts on gallery
Yeah.
where you hear the mood come in. It's like I'm sure Joel, when he hears that, is just high-fiving himself because that's what it was. I'm sure that's what he would hope someone would do with it.
Yeah, I'm not as deep as some people, but so the setting I have on this is essentially whatever I've just played in the last few seconds. I don't exactly know how long it is. I'd have to check where it is now, but it just instantly plays that in reverse
Okay.
as a loop.
Fantastic.
So instead of having to do this and dance, I can just go. So if we just play something in the key of G, and if someone wants to hit button, yep, that one.
So this is
Always listening.
Always listening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also always forgetting. So if I switch it off, that's gone forever.
Oh, okay. You can't store that.
No,
Okay.
which is also great. It's very performative. So with this now, I can
Did
go.
you hear that? That's how to do it.
I can play. Or, on the same token, I can play something like...
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so you can do that also with the like DL4. It just takes a little longer. Actually got to start the loop, and then it's there, and then I can go double tap and achieve the same thing. It just takes me longer. And so what I realized years ago was I don't actually do much normal looping except for this recent album. I don't actually very often go, here, play this, play over. But I do love that bed of information. And so the mood creates that. And so that's why that pedal board is that size, because it doesn't necessarily need the annex of a looper.
So looping like that, you're not tied into a groove or a rhythm. You can literally just let that be like a drone in the background and you can play over it.
Yeah.
What was that D flat chord you play over G? Because that was magic.
Oh, okay. That was essentially A7 on G on C sharp.
First inversion thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
I told you what was going to happen.
No, it's cool.
I told you what was going to happen.
But it was so great because it was the movement chord. Wasn't
it was
it?
perfect.
It is, and it's so that's the kind of thing, you know, it takes a little music knowledge because you've got to go, okay, what am I going to put in this progression?
Yeah.
And what notes can I put in? So if you've got something that's more complex and like, what's the word? More harmonically complex, really, you have to reduce the notes that are in something like that.
You mean more harmonically complex in the loop?
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
okay,
so sorry, more.
So it's
information.
1s and 5s, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in a straight key, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I have another song from an album a couple of years ago. This song's called Shipping, which was about a guitar getting broken in shipping.
That's another reason for not travelling with an acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't mind actually. Good cases are fine. I've literally had to ship this back to the builder to repair something else. That's when it happened. So it was going to the right place. It just had more wrong with it when it got to them. Anyway, so this song, it's like in F major, but it has a lot of Lydian textures and then goes through subtle changes. So for that loop, I have to play like a much simpler thing underneath it. And it's usually just Fs. The song's in the key of F. But so I'm just usually going, actually, so I'll just do that side. So that side on the mood at the moment is a delay.
Love that.
And so this would be like this.
There's 2 1s and a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just a little bounce. So we've got this like...
And because it's tonic and perfect fifth, it works over everything.
Over all those chords, you can play those notes like with everything in that particular. So if you add that there, it's still there. The only one though, because it is Lydian, that still works going. kind of floating over the
That's
top.
the sci-fi in you coming out, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of Star Wars
Which
action.
mode is Lydian? Which mode is Lydian?
Fourth one. It's got the sharp 11 in it.
Okay,
It's the Simpsons mode.
right.
No, it's not. That's Lydian dominant.
Lydian dominant. The four.
Lydian
Lydian dominant's got the minor seventh in it.
Lydian.
Lydian's,
Are we going to have a theory argument?
Isn't it Lydian's got the sharp 11? It's a major key.
So Lydian, I think of as it's a major scale with the raised 4.
Yeah.
So sharpened 4. Lydian dominant also has the dominant 7th in it, and that's the Simpsons one.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I only ever think. Yeah. Okay. Right.
I wish I could play the.
The minor seventh.
Please
Okay.
don't play it. I don't need copyright strike.
Yeah. Dominant 7th, because the minor 7th is confusing as well.
The flat 7 and the sharp 11.
No, the dominant 7th.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's the fourth mode. I genuinely didn't realise there was 2 Lydian modes.
You didn't realise there were modes.
Well, I knew there were modes. I know all about modes. Which is a lie.
And look, I only knew it because I had to teach at a university for a long time, and I didn't know them when I started teaching there. Shh.
Okay.
I don't teach there anymore. Yep.
All right, let's move on. Brilliant. What a beautiful way to approach looping. Because just to reiterate the point that was made earlier, but we'll say it again for if any of you are struggling to sort of figure out how you're going to use this, it doesn't require you to count 4 and hit the button at the right time. It just provides this wash and texture.
Yeah, that wash texture thing just means that you can play by yourself for hours and explore things. And it's a great writing tool just to have there. And I think, most of that gallery album definitely has that going on somewhere in the background. Whether I created it via the mood at the time or via the timeline, sometimes I don't remember. But that just gives you that ability to play free and just let something wash for a while if you're not, and you don't have to play in time. That's the great thing about it. That thing just washes through. Because I use that not just solo, I use it with the band as well. So sometimes if I haven't played with a drummer before and they hear me do that, they're like, where is it? I'm like, don't. Just let it just floats. You're good. You play wherever.
Yeah, and a lesson in economy as well, because I think perhaps the assumption is you've got to fill every space with sound and you have to fill every frequency. Well, actually, it's nice to have some room.
Totally.
Some space.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
A couple of related questions then. So groove is obviously a huge deal for you.
Totally.
Basic question. Comes naturally, had to work on it. Because to play at those low tempos and keep the groove, that is hard.
Yeah, well, definitely something I've worked on extensively.
Yeah.
It was just that thing, going back to when I was younger, playing like with Tommy Emmanuel and those sorts of things. The only way I knew how to play was that boom chick. That was the way you play like solo guitar, was that or maybe a walking bass line, or that was it. But I realized I only listened to that music and play that music because that was all that was available to me in a lot of ways. So in developing that, honestly, the first person I heard do fingerstyle that seemed to have a groove and was different was John Mayer. I don't know if you have a bell for when John Mayer's mentioned on the show.
Well, we can.
John Mayer. He knows him.
Yeah. So
I don't know John Mayer. I have met him a couple of times.
When I first heard Neon, I was like, okay, that's a whole thing. Like, and then from there, I discovered Charlie Hunter, who John ripped that song off to an extent, and
allegedly.
Yeah, I can play the original track, but we'll save that for another time. And so that essentially went, oh, wow, now Charlie's sort of playing the music that I want to hear, but he is still a fingerstyle guitar player, essentially. Yeah. And so it was just that. And then, the day I heard Charlie Hunter, I went to a pawn shop and bought a cheap Strat and put 2 bass strings on it, pulled the pole pieces out of the pickups so that the neck pickup was for the guitar, the middle pickup on the Strat was for the bass, 2 separate outputs, and did a show that weekend with a drummer and saxophone player.
Oh,
So I was just so into it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
If you don't know who Charlie Hunter is, please check him out right now.
Yeah.
And what Adam has just described is how Charlie typically sets up his... How many strings? 7?
well, actually, he's now on
He's
6.
back to 6, is he?
Yeah, but it's this, it's an unusual tuning. Essentially, it's E, A, D of the bass,
Yeah.
and then A, D, G of the guitar. But then he usually tunes it either up to F or to G,
Yeah.
simply for the tension over a strange instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
And then bass strings and treble strings being treated separately.
Totally separately.
Yeah, and he might put a rotary on the top. And
Yeah.
please go and listen to Charlie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
But your the band record is
Yeah.
on his label, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Charlie and I have been friends for a long time. He is an extraordinary man and an extraordinary musician, and like meeting him when I was younger was probably like a real catalyst for me to actually continue pursuing the music business. He just did things in a different way to some of the other people I'd been presented with, and I was like, oh, okay, there is a way to make this all work.
Hello, Charlie,
Yeah.
if you're watching. By the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
He just
Met him at Nair many years ago. Lovely
Yeah,
chap.
and so that idea, because he's the bass player and the guitar player, which sounds dumb and show-offy until you hear it,
Yeah.
until you listen to the records and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And he's on, that John Mayer record, or he's on Continuum playing that in Repair, and he's playing this part. He's the bass string is down an octave.
I never knew that.
So that's his part.
Genuinely never knew that.
Yeah. Mayer plays the organ sound.
Huh.
He's
No.
Yeah. So he's doing this part, which I can create here now.
We'll be fine. I think we'll be fine for copyright on that, I think. Yeah, I heard him on Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. Just, sorry.
No, it's this one. Wait. Anyway.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Well, how did you do that?
Just finding strange sounds in the DL4.
Is it a pitch shift thing?
It is their harmony delay,
Yeah.
but if you turn the repeats down to 0 and the time down to 0, you get this awesome... Oh, where is it? There. Does that still stay? Anyway, random stuff the DL4 can do that's not delay.
That is so cool. I suppose the question then is, when you're learning guitar and you're nuts about it and you're learning all your modes and scales and you're into the technical side of playing, as many of us will have remembered, and then you fall into that place that maybe you found yourself in, which was, now I just sound like that person, now I sound like that person. You've mentioned that Charlie was perhaps an inspiration in how to go your own way, but what is the process of going your own way? How on earth do you go, today I sound like whoever, tomorrow I am Adam Miller solo artist? How does that process happen?
It's, wow, I don't know. For me, it was, a lot of it actually is composition. I'm going to say back to that. Like especially the last few years, realised that I'm not a composer first. I am a guitar player first, but everything is, I want to play songs. And it sounds strange for an instrumentalist to kind of say that as well, but it is super important to me. And my songs are, to me, quite deep in everything going on, what the meaning of it is, the emotional place it's from. And that was a huge part for me in actually finding it. From a then from a technical side of things, from a guitar-y, it was really just finding a guitar that I had no preconceived notions of its tone.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
So for me, it
You
was
didn't look at it and think you knew what it sounded like.
yeah. I was like I wanted. So I was a telly guy. Like I had a 3 pickup telly, which is the Tommy Emmanuel influence.
It's okay, mate.
That's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
No, it's
I changed.
Don't get punched.
It's okay. And it
I
had
haven't had my Australian fighting wine.
yeah. The sad.
No,
bit.
but those Nashville tellies, they're cool.
No, it
you
was
know?
horrible. It was a terrible guitar.
Okay,
I've sold it. I've got rid of it. So I had that, and I played some Strats, and then I played a hardtail Strat for strangeness for a long time, and then I had some Robin Fordish guitars, like an Australian company called Bellman, so a dual humbucker, small hollow body. And then I ended up getting a B3 from Gene Baker,
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
which, at one point was sort of the Robin Ford model-ish
Yeah.
guitar. But then I just realised I need something that I don't have I'm not trying to sound like Robin Ford or this. And so I built this thin line telly out of parts for myself. And that's what I played on gallery for the most part. And it just I put a mini humbucker in the neck because I'd always wanted one, and I'd just come off a tour where everything was really noisy. I think I put a noiseless bridge pickup in it at the start too. That's not in there anymore. But just having that guitar just put this whole new, I didn't know what it sounded like.
Right.
The neck pickup kind of did like the Stratty
Yeah.
thump the low E thing, but it was rounder. And then it had this kind of jazzish guitar quality to it with something else. And that actually led me and I stopped using overdrive pedals for a second. Like I just went, I'm not going to use, I had a Zen Drive, I shelved it. I actually bought something else online at the time, I think. In the early days, it was a Rocket Blue Note. Actually,
I remember those.
yeah. Because I saw John Schofield using it, so I just bought that. And it was great because I had no preconceived notion of what it was as a pedal either. And that was really it for me. So I was already playing 2 rocks, and that kind of was a great foundation. But it was that idea of I couldn't go, if I pick up a Strat, I still try to sound like John Mayer or Stevie Ray Vaughan. And if I pick up a telly I'm a little bit more, can go back to me on, but it's hard.
That's fascinating.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because the journey for so many of us is hear Jimmy Page, buy Les Paul, try to sound like Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the journey
You
for
go on. Yeah.
most enthusiast guitar players. Insert other guitar players and models here. But you obviously had something that said, no, I'm plowing my own furrow here.
Yeah, and it was, I guess, with the acoustic guitar, I found I could achieve what I, wanted to do. I could sound like me on it. But whenever I jumped back to electric, I didn't. I was in this strange... So I was trying to... And, it's why this guitar exists as well. It's that idea of getting my guitars almost closer to acoustic instruments.
Yeah, cool.
To have that type of... Even the feel of it. All my guitars have this bounce. Yeah. Everything, I don't really have anything that's solid anymore. Everything is hollow body in some way, and everything just has this bounce off the fretboard. So
it probably weighs about 5.5 pounds as well, I expect.
It might be less actually. This one, it's very light, and that was my path to making it work, and that's what I say to most people. And just finding those things, really practically speaking, with string gauges and the pick you use and guitar cables. The pick I use.
What strings do you use?
What strings? Yeah. 11 to 49, D'Addario, usually NYXL, sometimes there are other ones depending on the pickup magnet and how it relates to that.
Nice.
You want to get nerdy? Yeah.
Sorry, you were just going to talk about plectrums. I'm really sorry for...
No, that's okay.
For interrupting. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Magnet type and NYXLs?
NYXLs have a resonant peak at a certain frequency that I don't know, but for example, the gold foil pickups in my other Huber, the NYXLs sound a little strange with it, with the rubberized ceramic magnet. So I used the standard XL D'Addarios on that, and it seems to balance that out better. But
do you think that's an alloy composition in the string?
Well, that's exactly what it is, yeah. Okay. There's a higher carbon content to the steel in NYXL.
We love you. It's actual love at this
point. Yeah. Sorry. I've worked in many facets of the guitar industry and things as well. And I just love all the stuff. Even though I use minimal gear, like I'm so into it and kind of know way too much. Way more than I should.
I interrupted you about picks.
Apologies. No, so like with guitar picks, for me, I also realized I just use one. Like I have hundreds of them, but I don't change my pick depending on what I'm doing. And I tried to find a pick that sounded like my fingers. Yeah. So this is a Dunlop Prime Tone 308.
God, that's a hefty plucker.
And the idea was that when I play, especially acoustically, you can hear that it's like...
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Even through the amp, that will translate, so... So that I could basically sound the same whether I was using a pick or not.
It was almost more treble with your fingers for a second.
It is, yeah. Depending on like my nails and how dry my skin is. Yeah. The skin will like...
And are you sort of finger and ever so slightly edge of nail every now and then?
No, my nails are pretty well bitten to be out of the way.
Right.
The flesh is sort of the vibe of, sort of everything. And I have like I do use my thumb so much, there is a little bump callus there that you can, sort of feel there. But those sorts of things were, I guess, the thing that really helped me develop my own thing. To the point now I'm bad at sounding like other people.
Right.
I used to think
That's
I could...
the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the goal?
I guess. I used to think I could copy Robin Ford pretty well, or Mayer or whoever, and I'm not that good at it anymore, so... Which is a great thing.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's
really cool.
Goal.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have any more technical questions?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'd want to hear you play some more. I think we just say our goodbyes and maybe get you to play us out. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. I do have one just final question.
No, that's all right.
What does Adam Miller 2024-25 look like? What?
That's a very good question. I don't exactly know yet. It's just, touring and getting out into the world from Australia is always difficult and hard to make it all work. I will definitely be touring through the Northern Hemisphere extensively again next year and doing random things.
Let us find a way of getting you to the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since you've played here.
Yeah, it's been I think 2017 was actually the last time I was here. Okay. So it's been a long time.
Consider this a commitment on our part to make sure you come and play here somewhere.
Love to.
Because it feels like we've just scratched the surface today and there's so much more to talk about. So you have to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You have to come back.
Full nerd vibe. Maybe I'll have the same pedal board. Who knows? And, I actually did get most of a new album done in Los Angeles last week. With a trio. We worked very quickly in like 5 hours, which was unbelievable. And they're the guys that have been on my last 2 band records as well, 2 of my closest friends. So that was really fun. So I'll do a little bit more of that, and then I actually am going to do maybe 1 or 2 like solo acoustic albums again, just because I love it, and see if I can manage to do it on tour, if I can convince sound guys to give me the sound.
Are you a workaholic?
Maybe. I don't feel like I am.
Always on?
I think the life of an independent musician is you don't get a chance to settle down, because like I'll get home from tour now and I play 3 shows next week in Australia still.
Right.
And then I've got to go, okay, I better think about booking next year and getting all those tours. So you just don't really get a downtime, but the balance is better. But it's still playing guitar for the most part, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Too cool, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honour to be here.
Of course. It's a trip. It's a trip. Perhaps you'd like to play us out with something.
Yeah, cool. I'm just thinking off the top of my head now which way I'm going to go so we can have some fun with some pedals. I'm going to do Adam Levy.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
So,
great. Love that guy.
Yeah, so Adam, has been a dear friend of mine for a long time. Someone I met early when I started going through the US, and the only one of my US friends that has done a show with me in Newcastle in Australia.
No
So that's
way.
kind of cool.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah,
Absolute sweetheart.
yeah. So this is Adam Levy. We'll do some trem on this because it is always nice.
See you next
Awesome.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.